Hey everybody, welcome back to week 4 of our 6-week masterclass. We are so excited to be here with you today. We have covered a ton of ground over these last 3 weeks, and today's going to be no different. We are going to deep dive into the nervous system and how to help it function even better.
I'm super excited because I don't think we've ever really broken down the nervous system in so much detail for people to understand how important it is to keep healthy for now, for the rest of your life.
And before we dive in, my name is Dr. Kaylee and this is Dr. James, and we are excited to be here with you again. For those of you that haven't seen us before, we are chiropractors. We've been serving our community for the last 13 years. We are a brother-sister team, and we've grown up in chiropractic, and that's what we want to do, is to help others grow up in chiropractic as well.
And that's truly our purpose. You know, most people neglect their spines because they're really not educated on how important it is and what it contains, and that's what you're going to learn here today, how intricate our nervous system is, what it controls, and most importantly, how to keep it healthy from now until the rest of your life again.
And if you remember from last week, we talked about cancer, and it was a heavy topic. Dr. James went into great detail of what a cancer tumor cell is, how it transforms and replicates, and then I went into also the effect that food has on your cancer cells, and whether you're feeding the tumor or you're killing the tumor, and then how having the thing that blew me away the most was the environment of having an oxygenated environment and the exercise that component that goes along with that. So I hope that you had something that kind of stuck out with you last week and have been able to implement some of those things along the way. So
yeah, whether we're talking about viruses, whether we're talking about cancer, the nervous system really is what controls the killing of those things through communication chemically to those cells that kill those viruses and bacteria and microbes that we talked about. So it really is all the same thing. So again, if we have a proper functioning nervous system, we have a proper functioning body. And when we look at the nervous system, it's really how we perceive the rest of our world, how we communicate with each other, how we sleep, how we live. And if our nervous system, again, is not functioning properly, nothing else can be healthy. So when we talk about all of these things, nutrition and exercise, those are super important and essential, but you can't live 1 second without nerve supply. So again, we're gonna break this down in detail for you today so you understand the importance of how intricate this nervous system is, how to keep it healthy, and make sure we understand what it consists of. So when we talk about the nervous system, we're talking really about 2 areas, the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is what chiropractors take care of. That's the below the skull down through the spinal cord. That's really what we address, the nerve roots and the spinal cord, because we want to make sure there's a clear connection from the brain through the nervous system, through the cells, tissues, and organs of your body to allow them to function properly. Because again, what controls function? It's your brain. What does your brain consist of? There's a reptile brain, an ancient brain, and that consists of the pons, the medulla, and the hindbrain. And the hindbrain is really situated at the base of your skull, and that controls your autonomic function. So your breathing, your heart rate, your blood pressure, all of those things are affected. So if your spine is out of alignment, which we're going to learn later, it could affect all of those things. And studies have shown that chiropractic, one adjustment to the atlas area that affects that hindbrain reduces blood pressure better than 2 blood pressure medications. So again, we're going to unpack that in detail. But let's talk about the neocortex. Neo means new, cortex is the brain, so the new brain. And that's the occipital lobe, which detects sight. It's your visual cortex. Your temporal lobe, which detects hearing. So that's your auditory cortex. It's your parietal lobe that feels pressure on your skin. And the most important lobe, I believe, as far as humans are concerned, is your frontal lobe, because that detects behavior. It controls behavior. It controls communication. It controls movement. It controls, again, tactile touch and all of the things that creates human beings into human beings. So again, when we talk about biopsychology, it's talking about the brain's effect on our behavior of the body, whether it be autonomic or whether it be us making those things happen. So again, I'm making my arm move. I'm not thinking about my heart beating, so there's 2 separate, distinct areas there. But biopsychology is really the study of how all of these areas control human behavior. And again, we want to make sure that the brain is connected to the cells, tissues, and organs of our body for proper behavior, proper communication, proper sleep, proper digestion, proper everything that we need. In this picture of the spine, and it says it controls everything, it literally controls everything, Dr. Kaylee. And that's what I've been teaching for the past 13 years. If I cut the nerve to the heart, no matter how many proper runs that you go on, how many miles you run each day, how much good foods and organic foods you eat, you will not survive because the heart will stop. So again, when we talk about function, the brain controls all function. It has to get down the spinal cord uninterrupted through the nervous system to allow all those cells, tissues, and organs to function at their proper level. And we have to make sure, this next slide is super important, nature needs no help, just no interference. So again, when we talk about viruses, we have a system to kill viruses. When we talk about cancer, we have a system to kill cancer. When we talk about detoxification, we have a system to detoxify our liver, our kidneys, and our bowels. When we talk about foods, we have a system to digest our foods, our bowels, and our stomach. Nature really needs no help. We have to stop interfering with it, thinking we're so smart, and understand how to work with it. And one of those key missing links to most people's health journey is core chiropractic. I believe it's the most important missing link. It is the most important thing to someone's health journey, but it's the most important thing, the number one thing most people neglect, I should say. So when we talk about the proper position of the spine, you should have 3 curves from the side. 3. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Just like 5 essentials, this is essential to keep your spine healthy and to keep your spine strong and to prevent it, what's that word? Prevent it from degenerating, because as it moves outside of its normal position, there's pressure on discs that shouldn't be there, and it causes premature degeneration of the discs and spine. So basically, think about it, it's rotting from the inside out. So if your spine starts to rot, that nervous system that I just talked about starts to rot as well. So the spinal cord, again, if there's pressure on the spinal cord, it cannot allow everything to function properly. You should also be straight from the back. And when we look at this chiropractic speaking, that's what we do in our office. We take a spine that's moved away from this proper position, and we teach people how to mold it back into its proper position through rehab techniques and spinal molding exercises, and the most important thing, an adjustment. Because that adjustment is what's really going to take the pressure off the nervous system, but then we have to make sure that we stabilize it through the rest of the things that we do in the office. How do we detect abnormal position? This is the most important x-ray today most important slide today, because we talk about x-rays. We cannot see what position your spine is in without an x-ray. And there's a lot of different techniques out there that do not utilize x-rays. That is not a very good technique because it's not addressing the position of the spine. So again, I said this in a previous video. When I got x-rayed at 21, my spine was completely straight. Even though I got amazing chiropractic care from day 1 to 21, I was not getting structural correction. So I learned it in school, I applied it into the practice, and that's what I'm teaching all of you. But the first step is to take an x-ray. And that's how we determine if you are subluxated. What is subluxation, Dr. Kaylee? It's when the bones shift out of alignment, okay? And that's when we detect subluxation. You'll get listings, and we literally try to mold that spine back and push the bones back into the proper position through an adjustment to allow proper nerve functioning that releases all the potential in the body. Again, your potential is inside. Core chiropractic, that amazing picture that you see on that screen right there, is what's controlling everything. It's stirring your body into life. So we've got to make sure that there's no interference to that, and that's what chiropractic does. How do we get subluxated? Whether it's a fall, whether it's from a football injury, whether it's from sitting at your desk all day long, whether it's from driving in a car, we get subluxated daily. I've got subluxated before waking up and getting out of bed, hurting my back. So it happens all day just as a part of life. So it's important not to just get checked once in a couple of months. It's important to get checked regularly to make sure we put these bones back into the proper position, take the pressure off the nervous system, and allow the body to function properly.
I think something that we just need to kind of marinate on for a second is the text messaging and the driving, because people think like, oh, I haven't been in a car accident, I haven't been in, I don't play sports, and they think like, we hear this a lot, is I'm good.
Yeah.
I feel fine and I'm good. And it's really those hidden, what we call micro traumas, those things that you do on a consistent basis over and over and over again that are going to lead to your spine getting subluxated. We see so much on x-rays with ligament damage because your body's been in this position so much that the ligaments that are supposed to hold your spine in a specific position are actually becoming relaxed. And so now what's happening is it's putting even more pressure on your spinal cord, even more pressure on your brainstem, even more pressure on your nerves. And the problem is that there's only about 10% of your nervous system that's pain fibered nerves, so you don't even really feel most of the stuff that's happening.
Right, so think about this. You were hit from behind in a car accident. I actually just did a deposition for a patient that was in my office, and they said, doesn't the pain go away normally in average patients? And I said, yes. But the ligament damage does not get corrected unless you detect it and know how to correct it. So the pain might be gone. Or you might not have any pain, but there's ligaments in there that, like Dr. Keeley said, don't have any nerve fibers going to them. So they're not painful, but they're still stretched. And when that happens, it makes the ligament laxity in your spine crazy, and it starts to literally bend the opposite direction. So we've seen curves that are supposed to look like this go the opposite way. And that's going to put direct pressure on the brainstem, the spinal cord, and the nerve roots, and that's ultimately going to deplete function into the cells and tissues and organs of your body. And that's why it's important to make sure you continually get x-rays. And I said this in another video, I get x-rayed every year on my birthday, December 6th, it's coming up, you know, and I look at the exercises that I need to get back into the proper position. But for the most part, because I take such good care of my spine, there's not much that I need to do, and I experience an abundance of health because of that. Because again, the brain has the ability to get to my cells and tissues and organs of my body. Let's talk about, again, the two different nervous systems. There's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Remember, the sympathetic is the rock concert, and the parasympathetic is that nice little classical Beethoven music concert in the bath that you're taking. And a lot of people, especially here in America, we're way too much in the rock concert mosh pit of life. Too much sympathetic, okay? You've got to teach your body and teach your brain how to move back over here to the rest and the repose, the parasympathetic part of life. There's way too many patients that I talk to that sleep 4 to 5, maybe 6 hours a night, but the majority, they're going to bed at midnight, they're getting it up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, they're drinking coffee, they're way over here on the sympathetic, their body has not gotten enough time to regenerate. And we don't talk much about sleep in these videos, but it's the most important thing as far as your body's calibration is concerned, getting back to homeostasis, being equal. You don't want too much rock concert, although they're fun to go to, and I love them. You don't want too much classical music. I love that as well. You'll hear that playing in the mornings here in my house all over the place. I've got some nice incense going and candles, you know, but it's important to balance the two. And that's what chiropractic does. You know, when we find subluxation, there's too much sympathetic stress or there's not enough sympathetic stress. Getting you an adjustment, taking the pressure off those nerves allows that to go back into the calibrative state, homeostasis, and balance your body out. So that is the nervous system. Let's move into nutrition.
Give me that thing. All right, so with nutrition, again, we've said this for the last 3 weeks previous to this, is that it is so important to your health. And again, I believe it's the most neglected, and I believe it's the most overutilized. You can go drive down the street and see probably 30 to 50 different restaurants along the way within a 4-mile radius, maybe even more than that. So we are just so bombarded when it comes to food, and when we attach feelings and emotions into that, we start to make some pretty bad decisions, which ultimately is going to end up affecting your nervous system. And so one thing I want to really talk about with you guys today is called exosomes. And if you've ever heard the saying, you are what you eat, that's really what we're talking about, is that what you eat is what your body uses to create cells and organs and tissues and transform everything that's going on. And I was reading a study that was in May of this year, 2020, and it was talking about just really what an exosome is. And it's a little tiny organelle that's got a membrane around it, and what it does is it has mRNA and microRNAs and protein. And so what this does is it actually is the thing that helps to deliver the nutrients in the food to different cells. And they were talking about how these types of things are going to be, it says right here, the potential role of food-derived exosomes in alleviating disease, as well as in modulating the gut microbiota, has been shown, but the underlying mechanism is still unknown. So they know how powerful these things are, but they really don't know how this works. But they also have seen that different medications and different supplements and things have been the better you treat your body, the better that these types of things can be delivered into your system. And so we want to make sure that you are feeding it right, not creating inflammation, not creating disease within these things, because really what you're feeding it is how your body's reacting. And then it said something about our microbiome in there. Again, we talked about this last week, and this is the good gut bugs and the bad gut bugs, the good bacteria versus the bad bacteria. And I think that sometimes we get over obsessed with the bad bacteria, and we want to worry about getting rid of the bad bacteria, but we really don't focus on the good bacteria. There's literally trillions of of bacteria rolling around in your gut and in your system, and if you don't take care of that and don't properly put the good stuff in there, then your body is going to be overwhelmed with the bad stuff. We're going to literally end up killing off all the good things. And so we want to make sure that we're doing probiotics and things to help with this. But one of the things we have to do is knock down our toxins, because we are just so overly bombarded with toxins in our entire world. There's a study that shows that women, when we talk about cosmetics, women put 515 different chemicals on or in their body in a 1-day period. 515 different chemicals in your body. And so that same study, what it said, it was actually on ABC News, and it was talking about how it said, there was a quote that said some of these chemicals are deemed safe, are probably safe. But we can't tell because we haven't done any third-party studies with that. So the FDA and the people that make cosmetics and all the things are loading these with chemicals, but there's really no regulations because there hasn't been any studies to prove that they're harming your body. So there's nothing that they have to do to overcome that. So here's some recommendations for you for what I do is when it comes to our bodies. Some of the things you cannot control, but why don't we learn how to control the things that we can? So when it starts with, let's just start with the shower. I use Dr. Bronner's for body soap. I use Intelligent Nutrients for my shampoo and my conditioner. And then lotion, I typically use coconut oil, but Intelligent Nutrients is another brand that I love to use as well. But coconut oil is my go-to with some essential oils in there as well. When it comes to makeup is a big thing. I really don't wear too much makeup, but what I do wear is I use EcoBella is the brand name. I use EcoBella for foundation. I use EcoBella for my mascara. And then I use Alima Pure for eyeliner. And then eyeshadow I use Naked, but it's called Better Naked. So there's not as many chemicals, and they actually use fruit to get the pigmentation in there. So those are just a couple ways to start putting good things into your body. And another question I get is, where do I get that? Now, before it was like you couldn't barely find it, but now you can go on Amazon. I just ordered it yesterday and it came in the mail today. So I just actually replenished my stock on makeup. So there's
so pretty.
Oh, thanks. And so that's that. And when it comes to like hair and hairspray and things like that, I'm the wrong person to talk to because I really don't use too many products when it comes to that. Because I haven't found anything that doesn't make my hair greasy and does the job that it needs to do. So I kind of use essential oils or even coconut oil when it comes to that. Household cleaners. We talked about this. You talked about this a lot last week, and I just want to have you understand what that actually means. Is that most people are using chemicals in all of their lives. You know, we've got toilet bowl cleaners, we've got floor cleaners, we've got countertop cleaners, we've got steering wheel cleaners, and we've got all the cleaners out now. But the problem is that a lot of these things have things like formaldehyde in there. They have bleach in there, and these things are, once you breathe them in, they're actually getting into your cells, and they're damaging the cells that your body is trying to use. So a couple of things that I use. Again, we talked about this. Essential oils are a big thing in our lives. We've been using essential oils for about 15 years now. And I use Thieves Cleaner. I use Thieves Cleaner for my countertops. I use it for my floors. I make my own toilet bowl cleaner, which you can Google on like Pinterest or whatever. Natural toilet bowl cleaners, homemade. That's really all I use. And sometimes we'll go into the white vinegars and some water and some essential oils and things like that. But it's very simple. I get my house is clean. I don't have any dirties anywhere. And the reason why I made this switch is because I know that the effect on our cells, if we affect our cells, then we're developing things like cancer. We're developing things like allergies and asthma. I can walk into, I think you talked about this last week, but I can walk down the chemical aisle or the cleaning aisle in a store, and my nose like shuts off, my eyes get red and watery, and things go haywire. So if you want to start changing your gut bacteria, stop putting the toxins, not just in your body, the food that you're eating, but the stuff that's around you too, because that stuff seeps into your skin.
How are you guys doing with that? I think the first challenge, the first week, 3 weeks ago, was to change out your cleaner. So if you haven't done that yet, you're 3 weeks behind here. So let's make sure you get on that, you check out your household cleaners, and you start to change them out.
The other thing is too, is if you haven't done it, then we haven't had a total mindset shift. And I think the last few weeks we've been really talking about schedule and war planning or peace planning and getting that part of your life figured out. But now let's talk about the mindset of like, what does it take to actually take action? Yeah. You know, what is it going to be for that? What's that moment going to be where you're like, okay, I've had enough and I'm going to take action on this? I had a conversation with a couple yesterday, and we were talking about things that happened in their lives and stuff that was going on, and the decisions that they've made since those things have happened. Granted, it's a journey, and it's you got to learn things along the way, but there's got to be a moment in time where you draw a line in the sand, and that you're okay with learning the process of growing and failing as you grow. Do you have anything to add into that?
I mean, I get that picture in someone's living room, just like, okay, I'm ready to do this, right? So again, this is week 4, we're a month into this. Let's start to actually make some changes as soon as possible, because again, this could be a nice little Zoom meeting that you're on right now, or you're watching the last 3 videos and you turn us off and you forget about us for another week, but that's really not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to change your mind so you can change your lifestyle, so you can live with abundance. I don't know what better thing on earth is than your health. Once you lose your health, you lose everything in your life, the money in your bank account, your job, you can't take care of your kids anymore. So again, that line in the sand needs to be drawn sooner than later to make sure you understand how to implement these essentials and plug them into your life.
And the reality is that, you know, it says right here, as we age, we're expected to get sick. And so really, I just think that that's a mentality shift. Like, are you going to buy into that, or are you going to be the one that stands on the other side of the statistic and says, as I'm aging, I'm getting better. My health is getting better, my energy is increasing, my life is getting better, my relationships are better, my finances are better. All the things are getting better, because really what it wants you to do is what? The government wants you to really just rely on them as you age. And you didn't work your life and your tails off to go and rely on that and think that, oh, you know, we hear this sometimes, I'm getting older, so I'm getting everything's hurting, or I'm not moving as well, or I'm getting sick, and that's just it is what it is. And that's just really not what it is. We want to help you shift that mentality to understanding, really truthfully, no matter how old or how young you are, your body is a self-healing and self-regulating organism. It can heal, but it's also something that can break down on its own too. So whether you're feeding it the good things or you're feeding it the bad things, your body is going to respond in that way. So if you're not getting it the nutrition that it needs, then your cells aren't functioning the way that they're designed to. It's as simple as that. So we really want to help you make that shift of, I don't even know if I want to give you more homework, because my guess is that most of you guys didn't go into the last 3 weeks and actually do the things that we're asking you to do. So my challenge to you today is, what are 2 or 3 things that you can pick that are going to be the things that you make a change in with your life?
When we talk about aging, we talk about aging of the spine as well, and degeneration and arthritis and all of these things people associate with getting older. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've seen spines with 0 degeneration at 75 and 80 years old, and I've seen spines with a lot of degeneration when they were young, 30s and 40s. So the position of the spine is directly affected on how healthy these discs are. So remember, if you want the fountain of youth, you've got to keep this spine and nervous system young. And the way to do that is to keep it in its strong and stable position so it doesn't degenerate, so it doesn't rot, so these nerves, cells, tissues, and organs can function properly like we've been talking about. Think about it. If the spine shifts like this part is going to degenerate because there's so much more weight on that part. And it's not a part of getting older. It's just a part of being compressed and having more weight on it for many, many years. So, again, if your spine's neglected, people come in my office looking like this and have no idea. There's no pain associated with that. There's no issues as far as symptoms are concerned. I said it before, we just took x-rays on 75 and 77-year-old people. They have no issues in the spine. It's all other places because of the spine. So again, if we can teach you that this is a silent disease that happens, subluxation is most of the time silent, we've got to make sure we understand that part of staying young and part of the anti-aging fountain of youth, as you will, is right here when we look at the nervous system, keeping it healthy and keeping it youthful from now on for the rest of your life.
And it's really, really super simple. I think we should just do a hashtag anti-aging movement. And really what that means is just get moving, right? We're not here to start a movement. We just want you to get moving. And if you can get moving, you're going to get your spouse to get moving, your friends are going to start moving, and your family's going to start moving. One of the easiest way to do this is with the wobble cushion that we have in our office. There's 3 simple exercises that we do. And really what that's doing is it's getting you guys can't see this, but I can. You can see how these discs are kind of moving in and moving out. It's kind of almost like a jelly is getting squished in and out. And so what that's doing is it's really starting to deliver nutrients into the discs in your spine.
It's even getting loose when I do this with this actual spine, but it's called imbibition. It looks like a wobble disc. So the more fluid we can get out, the stagnant fluid, and the more new fluid we can get in, the healthier these things stay. The problem is, again, people sit in desks all day. It's stagnant fluid. It starts to create those junky discs, and they start to literally fuse together and rot. And that's why movement is key here. It's one of the most important things as far as keeping your spines healthy.
It's amazing for the discs, but it's also amazing for the muscles that surround the lumbar spine. It takes the longest amount of time for us to get a lumbar spine corrected. And the reason being is because these muscles back here are just ginormous compared to all the other ones throughout the spine. And so we want to make sure that we start to loosen those things up. I know that even this morning I woke up and I was like, man, I'm stiff. It was hard for me to bend over. And so I sat on the corner of my bed and I started doing these exercises, and right away my body started moving even better.
As we're talking to you here, people get super excited about correcting their spines within the first 3 months. And then we see a huge drop off in home care, especially because they just get lazy with it. First of all, they start feeling better, and then they forget how important it is because it's been 3 months and life takes over. But chances are you've not corrected the spine yet. So just because you feel better doesn't mean you can quit doing your home care. I do my home care every single day, and I have one of the best spines that I've ever seen. So again, the wobble discs, the wobble chair is for the discs in the spine, and the traction pole is to literally warm up the ligaments so we can put stress, whether it's a head weight on some of you, whether you're just doing the traction cervical pole, whether you're on the vibe plate. Again, that stress is designed to bend the joint back into its proper, perfect, stable position. I can finally move my finger all the way to my hand, right? A month ago, I couldn't do that. So the joint was affected. And I had been going to PT and they've been stretching the heck out of this thing. And eventually they said it's going to work. I said, how is it going to work? It's just like flopping over there in the air.
So
and I
gross.
didn't believe them at first. But then, you know, as time went on, the joint started getting healthier and it started moving. And again, it was in a cast for 6 weeks like this. So it wasn't moving. And that's why it got so stiff. That's how people's spines are. And that's why it's important to take care, not just the joints in your knee or the joints in your shoulder. You've got to take care of the joints of your spine. And that's why we have those specific techniques to keep them healthy, keep them moving, and keep them functioning. My orthopedic surgeon, sorry, Keely, took me aside and said, I don't think you're ever going to be able to bend it again. You might get some movement. And I went to him the other day and I did this. And he like looked at me like I said, because I put time and effort into it. Just like he said, most people stop doing their exercises within the first 3 months. It's now been almost 5 months and I keep doing it every day as much as I can. The more movement, the more motion, the healthier your spine is.
Yeah, so with that even too is that, you know, when we're talking about aging, that's a great topic for when we talk about the spine, because it's supposed to be, they say that as you age, your spine's just going to degenerate and get worse over time. And I've seen evidence of people in their 70s or 80s and having a spine that looks better than people in their 20s. And that's if they start to take care of it as soon as possible. And so what is a joint? Before we like move on and get too confusing with this, a joint is just very simply put is where two bones come together. And there's ligaments and there's cartilage and there's tendons and all kinds of stuff that surround and protect that joint and allow it to help it to move. A couple things that hurt your joints is when you have an acidic diet, because that's going to start to eat away at the cushioning, at the cartilage in between the joints. Also, if you have a diet that is full of inflammation, if you have inflammation, it's going to create inflammation in your knee, and that's why you're getting the pain, or not just your knee, any joint, and really like things like arthritis is just inflammation of the joint. And I don't think people understand that. I've got the arthritis, so I've got to take the pills. And it's like, well, do you really though? Because if you just got rid of the inflammation in your diet and started getting good supplements to reduce the inflammation even more rapidly, guess what's going to happen? Your body's going to respond to that. And so we want to have a body that does respond to that. Getting rid of the pain and also getting rid of the discomfort. We've got an amazing product in our product line. It's going to help with your joints. It's got 2 different types of collagen in there, which is going to be what helps to rebuild the collagen in your body. Not only is that good for your joints, but it's good for your hair, your skin, and your nails. And so if you want to look younger while you're correcting your joints, this is the stuff for you.
I got a question. You talked about hair and skin and nails, and they were talking about one specific vitamin, biotin, I believe. And you can't just take one vitamin and expect your hair to grow
Ta-da!
like that. It's the whole thing that you're looking at. So if your diet's too acidic, if there's too much sugar, it affects all of this stuff and causes issues like thinning hair and joints that are also very thin.
Yeah, and painful. So we want to just make sure that you understand that it is a holistic approach. It's not just a minimalistic. We're not just trying to get the simplest parts, but we want you to look at your health as a whole. That's what we do. When we talk about the 5 essentials in our lives, if I have anything going wrong, it's like, okay, what am I doing wrong in these 5 essentials? Which part am I lacking in? And sometimes it's the home care, and sometimes it's the nutrition, sometimes it's the workout, whatever it is. I really love this next quote that we want to read to you and then kind of shift into what we're looking for next week. But it says, medicine is and really close your eyes and listen to this. Medicine is about disease and what makes people die. Chiropractic is about life and what makes people live. Like, you couldn't be more simply put than that with this.
Medical people, doctors, nurses, they're very good at disease. I would not deny that.
Yep.
But they're not good at keeping people healthy and vibrant. The only thing that can do that is the lifestyle that you live. Again, 95% of all disease is due to lifestyle. What makes people live? It's their brain, period. It's their nervous system, period. That brain has to get down the spinal cord, across the nervous system, and into your organs. So if you're new to this, you've not seen your x-rays or your spine, you don't know what it looks like, you don't know how bad the degeneration or arthritis is, you don't know after a car accident if there's any ligament damage, the pain might have be gone, but the damage may be 20 to 30 years in the making, it's time to get an x-ray. It's time to go to a structural corrective doctor. Go to maxliving.com, put in your zip code, and they will find the office closest to you so you can get your spine checked, you can understand how your nervous system is functioning and what is making you live.
Again, chiropractic is about life and what makes people live, and we want to help you do that as much as we can. Next week, we're going to go into an even deeper dive with nutrition and detoxification, and with a lot of overview as well in that. So again, go ahead and commit to something this week, whether it's getting your spine checked, whether it's changing the type of cosmetics that you're using, or maybe if it's just starting to transform into a more core plan or advanced plan like we talked about last week.
Or if it's actually getting those wobble discs out and your traction unit out and all of the exercises that you're supposed to do with your spine, that would be my prayer for you, is that you actually start implementing this daily. You know, if it's been 3 or 4 months, if it's been 5 or 6 years, maybe some of you have been here for 13 years, it's time to get back on that stuff and make sure you understand why you're doing it first, how you're doing it second, and make sure it's consistent.
Yep, so join us next week when we talk about nutrition and detoxification.
Peace.
Bye.